Starting.
There we go. And we're live.
We are live. Okay, let's get some intro music. Welcome to the Iron Sysadmin podcast, your source for IT news, commentary, and a healthy dose of paranoia. See, I'm here moving around during the intro music, and I bumped the mic. Yep. See, you're lucky, Dustin. You can mute yourself. I can't. If I mute myself, YouTube doesn't hear us.
What a bummer. I mean, maybe that's good for YouTube and all the people that watch. Maybe they don't want to hear us.
Yeah, all of a sudden it just goes quiet. Oh, well, whatever. Nate bumped the mic.
At least it didn't fall off your desk. I moved mine above, and it kind of bothers me because I feel like I'm going to hit it with my head when I stand up. But
yeah, don't do that. Don't do that. Well, yeah, well, I guess when I put mine up out of the way instead of being in front of me here, when I'm just using this computer as a normal computer, it's like way up here. It's like,
yeah, it's kind of there.
Sorry, guys. We're already off track, and we just started the show. Welcome to Iron Sysadmin Podcast, episode 36. I'm your host, Nate, and joining me tonight is the long-lost
Agent 66, back from the dead,
whom we haven't seen since January or earlier.
I can't believe it's been that long. I'd have to look back and see what episode.
Huh? Maybe early February.
I have no idea. It's been a while. I know that we were talking about ironically, we always talk about beer. We're talking about a beer that he recommended, and he's like, I don't remember recommending that.
I don't even remember talking about it.
It's been quite a while ago.
Don't even remember talking about it. Speaking of beer, it
go ahead.
Took us so long to get set up this tonight that I am already pouring my second beer. It's going to be a good show, guys.
Oh yeah. So I have to keep us on track. Okay, I'll try. That usually doesn't work either.
Nope. All right, so that should be a fun one. Jason's flying or something again, so you guys can give him grief on Twitter. I might even tell you how to spell his handle.
Yeah, it starts as a Z, right?
No, there's no Z's. No Z at all. There's an E in there.
It might be a little bit of a troll.
Starts with like a...
What's that other letter there?
It starts with a... Damn it, why the hell aren't you here, Jason?
Yeah.
That's how it starts. It starts with traitor. Okay.
Revenge will be a dish served cold when he comes back on the next episode.
Yes, indeed.
Or we just won't tell him. No. Anyways.
We won't tell him. All right, I guess we'll just trail right along into the news here.
Sounds good.
All right. You ever been on Twitter and wonder if there's anybody that's actually alive responding to your tweets?
Every day.
Every day. Sometimes
I'm just lonely, or nobody follows me. I mean, people follow me, but
sometimes it feels like Twitter is just nothing but bots, right? Like, you ever just like post a tweet and then within milliseconds, 3 people have added you to a list and one person responded with like their resume and portfolio.
Yeah. Or it's like the opposite. You get like direct messages. They're like, oh, hey, I'm such and such. Read my book. I said, I don't know who you are. Leave me alone.
I've been added to so many InfoSec lists over some of the things that I've posted on Twitter that they have to be a bot, because while sure I have some exposure to InfoSec, I am far from an InfoSec professional.
Same.
And there's a ton of people that just get pictures of beer that I'm drinking or Jeeps in their InfoSec feeds.
Could be worse. So, they could have worse things in their feed.
CNET reports that all right, who was it that did this study? Now I'm already Pew. I don't know who Pew is. Is that a person or
Pew Research Center?
Pew Research Center. Pew Research Center has actually done some research on the amount of bots on Twitter. I guess they were focusing on certain companies or brands. Like, it wasn't all of Twitter.
Mm-mm.
I guess they just have to have a sample size, huh?
I guess that, and they probably don't have the power like Google. Just throw a bunch of
right.
hardware
Like
at a problem.
they can't just suck in all the tweets, right? Now, I
Ew.
wonder how they know if they're bots or not, just based on like the client maybe used, because Twitter logs that, don't they?
Yeah, you could probably leverage that. I would think, because I remember a number of the other popular social media platforms used to report what device you're reporting from. Or maybe they still do. Does Facebook still report that if you're sending it from
Twitter
iPad or?
Twitter
I know
used
Twitter
to.
did.
It was like right on the
Yeah.
tweet. It would say like, buy Facebook for Android, or not
Mhm.
Facebook, buy, from TweetDeck for Android or whatever. I don't see it
Well,
on the
yeah,
tweets
a
now.
Twitter app for Facebook via Android.
Yeah.
Right?
So, well, anyway, somehow they have figured out what are bots and what aren't, and they estimate that 66% of tweets are bots, or 66% of not tweets, 66% of links shared on Twitter come from bots rather than people. Research specifically focused on
Does that
the
make you sick?
2,315 most popular websites and over 1 million tweets sent between July 27th and September 11th, 2017. 500 most active supposed automated accounts represented 22% of the links tweeted to popular sites, whereas 500 of the most active human accounts made up just 6%. So, yeah, there's a lot of bots on Twitter. That's what this article is saying.
Indeed.
Sorry, I kept trampling you. You were trying to say something.
It's
Speak.
okay.
Speak!
It was I don't remember. Oh, I said it's pretty tired. I said it's pretty disgusting if that many of the links are automated posts. Now, what kind of links are we talking about? Because you look at some of these companies like a URL shortener, Bitly, for example. You pay for a subscription. You can integrate. You can post links autonomously. You can use applications. People who run podcasts that want to post to multiple social media sources at the same time. You can use an app for that, and that may be considered a bot, right?
Yeah, does that count as a bot? I don't know.
Like, API. Yeah, depends.
I
You
have
would think anything that leverages the API, but that's arguable.
There's two things that I've used over the years to sort of make Twitter a little more bearable, a little more, what's the word I'm looking for? Consistent, I guess, for my social media outlets. One of them is a website called Buffer, which is basically like you can queue up a bunch of tweets, then they go out at a schedule. So I guess that'd be considered a bot. Even though I crafted those tweets, they're going out on a schedule. So does that mean that they're bots? I guess.
Automation's involved, kind of.
And then the other thing is I actually wrote myself a little Python script that uses Tweepy, which I guess would absolutely be a bot. But it's not like interacting with people. It's just sending out some tweets that I have thrown together.
For your command and control servers?
Like no. They're literally just like...
Haha.
Yeah, haha. They're for my Jeep site, and they basically just on a schedule send out some of my YouTube videos, some of my articles and stuff, so that just to get exposure out there. It's not like, I don't know if you call that a bot. I always figured a bot would be a little more sophisticated than that, but I guess anything that's doing it automatically could be considered a bot.
Absolutely, I agree with you on that.
So it's just a very unsophisticated bot.
Still a bot.
Still a bot.
Hey, you can still consider the guy, the people who wave the signs around. They're upset about these mannequins that have a motor in place of their hands that spin the sign, and that very simple technology, it's just literally a motor and a sign on a mannequin, could be considered a bot, right? I mean, it doesn't have AI. It doesn't have the ability to move other than the sign.
Is that like putting the guy on the corner with the sign on the board that says going out of business sale? Is that putting him out of business?
It could, but then you see
out of a job, I should say.
Do that dance more out of a job, yeah.
Yeah, they do dance more lively now. Yeah, they really do work at that a little harder than a mannequin with a robot or mannequin with a motor would. So yeah, I guess they still bring value.
Indeed, it's that personal touch.
The homeless person, they've paid $5 an hour to hold the sign up.
Actually, they get paid more than that. In this area, anyways. I think I got offered like $12 an hour to do that. It was only like for 6 hours, and it was like 2 days a week. This is years ago, but yeah, it was 10 to $12.
It's got to be boring work though, just standing there holding a sign. You're doing the same work that an iron post could do. You're just moving it around a little more.
Arguably, well, if you have wind, anything can be animated with wind, right? But
It's a windy day. The post earns more than Dustin.
it's a competition. Well, then you have the wacky inflatable flailing arm.
Oh
tube
yeah,
man.
yeah.
Or
You
if I
can't
said that
forget those
completely wrong.
things.
They're pretty active.
No, $12 an hour will get you a 20-foot tall waving arms. That much excitement. I mean,
I don't know. It depends on the rental fee.
yeah, I guess the rental fee could be more than $12 an hour. I don't know.
I have no idea. We've gone so far off the track now.
Speaking of things going extinct, like the person on the corner with the sign being replaced by a robot. Do you remember? I guess this may not apply to you because you weren't a kid at the same time that I was. But when I was a kid, like the dinosaurs were a big thing for me. I don't know. I just like dinosaurs. Young boys, they like dinosaurs. Big lizards.
So wait. Did you like meat eaters? Did you like plant eaters, herbivores, carnivores? What was your
dinosaurs in general, man? And like Tyrannosaurus was awesome. Since I was a kid, like some dinosaurs have changed names because science has changed. Some dinosaurs, you know, have changed how they look. We found out that there were dinosaurs that were pink because of the stuff they ate or something.
Now they have feathers. We think.
And when I was a kid, the theory of what killed the dinosaurs was that a meteor hit the Earth. This was a theory. This was like, we think a meteor hit the Earth. Apparently somewhere along the line. So, I mean, eventually I lost track of dinosaurs because whatever, I'm not a paleontologist. Like maybe I could have become a paleontologist, but I didn't follow that track in life. And eventually I stopped paying attention to the dinosaurs. Eventually that theory was proven. Yes, a meteor hit the Earth around the time the dinosaurs vanished. This must have killed the dinosaurs, right? I mean, it makes sense, right? So they considered it. It's no longer a theory that killed the dinosaurs. Well, this article from phys.org apparently changes that. What?
PHYS.
Yeah, I'm going to say fizz.
Not FIZ. I'm just
PHYS, fizz.
Being a troll. Go ahead.
I'm going to say it's like physics or something, it's short for physics. So apparently, yes, a meteor did hit the Earth. They're not saying that that's not what killed the dinosaurs, but they're also now claiming that the dinosaurs were already dying when it happened because they were being poisoned by plant life that had become toxic.
Interesting. So does history repeat itself? It may not be poisonous plants that defeat the human race, but what's our defeat? I mean, we die a little every day, right?
So we're like self-poisoning our food, aren't we? I like genetically engineering it. That's what Facebook tells me.
That's, you know.
GMOs.
Bad.
Yeah.
Not all GMOs are bad. I don't mean to go completely off topic, but I think a lot of people forget that some of the GMOs that, some of the early GMOs have been able to produce, you know, the different vegetables we're used to today. You know, corns. GMOs help keep bananas alive because we would have lost bananas to a number of diseases and funguses and things like that.
I once had a long, drawn-out discussion with a family member she's anti-vaccines, she's anti-GMOs. You guys can't see my air quotes because you're listening to us audio. But she had blamed Facebook, right? She had shared an article somewhere about how the GMOs are evil. And at the time, I didn't know much about what the heck a GMO was. So I just started doing some reading, you know, like educated people do. And I read that GMO just stands for genetically modified organism. It's just a general term for anything that has been genetically modified. I'm like, okay, so maybe some are bad, but I don't want to be a GMO bigot.
Yeah,
I know what I mean?
It's played around a lot. I think there's the good and bad side to it, but I don't think it's as bad overall.
Yeah, right. So, like, science has saved the extinction of certain things. Science has improved our life. Like, I don't know. Are all GMOs bad? Who am I to say? I'm not a genetic researcher. There we go. I'm not a paleontologist, and I do not research genetically modified plants. You know, I got to leave that to the experts.
Now that we've covered all this.
Yeah. Now, you know, our I guess Monsanto was like the big deal at the time. Are they practicing like really shady business tactics?
Absolutely.
Maybe.
Who isn't though? I mean,
But
when
like
you look
that,
at a lot of those big corporations, who isn't anymore? It's
that
sad to say,
isn't that
but
isn't the genetically modified corn's fault. That's
that's an
Monsanto,
ethical
big
issue.
corporation.
That's right.
All right. So anyway, now that we've veered off of what killed the dinosaurs, so maybe, and I'm
Maybe
just
the
gonna
dinosaurs had GMO.
I'm just gonna throw this out there. Maybe the dinosaurs were smarter than we think, and they were genetically modifying their plants. And that's what killed the dinosaurs. And then the meteor was just a happy coincidence. Maybe
So it's
not
just
so
history
happy.
repeating itself, right?
Not so happy. Not so happy for the dinosaurs, I suppose. But so there you go.
Outside of the asteroid, I mean, history's repeating itself, right? I mean, the dinosaurs, GMO processes, humans, GMO processes. Maybe, an asteroid will be our excuse for the next generation.
Someday they're going to find an ancient petrified sign that went around, some field of the dinosaurs' crops that says, crops owned by Monsanto.
Ooh, ouch. Now we're throwing companies at, yowza.
It's just an example. But you've seen the, I don't know, maybe you don't drive past a lot of fields
I do.
where you're living, but there's a lot of like crop fields that I drive by on my way to work, and a lot of them have these signs up that are like, stay the hell out. These are like licensed crops. You cannot come in here.
Well, if I mean, I don't mean to veer off too much, but like you talk about the soybean issue, I think it may still be an issue now, but years ago, soybean farmers out in the Midwest, some farmers would, I think, save the seeds that they can, plant again for the next crop.
Mm-hmm.
And those that would buy certain large corporations versions of those seeds weren't allowed to do that. And at one point there was cross-pollination because that happens in nature, wind, other environment variables.
Imagine that.
Right? And then they started going after those farmers that didn't use that product and put them into a lawsuit or force them to use their product. It's really, really messed up. I mean, how...
Yeah, I had heard that same story when this was all a big deal.
Yep.
How like farmers are being sued over these genetically modified crops just blowing on into their field, being accused of, it's like crop piracy. Is that, is that what you're going to call this? It's like, I made a copy of a movie. No, I made a copy of your corn.
Piracy is bad. Piracy kills. You wouldn't what is it? You wouldn't steal a car.
You wouldn't steal a corn crop.
Wow. Look at where we've gone again.
Moving on. So I don't know. Do you know anyone who's an absolute germaphobe? Maybe you are one. I don't know.
I'm not. I mean, I'm a little particular, but I wouldn't say I'm a germaphobe. But yes, I do know a few.
Yeah.
Why?
I mean,
why do you ask, Nate?
I'm the guy that goes into a public restroom and like pulls his sleeve over his hand before he opens the door. And I wouldn't call myself a germaphobe, but I'm definitely conscious of the amount of germs I pick up in public places. Ars Technica has an interesting article about the air hand dryers that you'll run into in most, just about all, I would say at this point, public restrooms.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So apparently, even though they heat the air up, what they're really doing is sucking in all the germy air from the public restroom and blowing it onto your hands.
Delicious. Lemon
Isn't
flavor.
it awesome? It's like, I just spent all this effort cleaning my hands, 30 seconds of my life gone, depending on how long you choose to
depends on the hand
wash.
dryer too. I mean, you have, ones with nozzles, without nozzles.
No. I mean the blade. What are you like cutting off
the air
your
blade,
hand?
the Dyson air blade. Yeah, you put your hand in it. And there's like a.
Oh, I see what you mean. The air blade. Okay, not like
like
I've stuck my hand in a fan blade. Now I don't have to dry it anymore.
Well, problem solved. You need to find a new career, but problem solved. Wow.
No, so anyway, I mean, I had always heard that in order to get most of the germs off of your hands, you need to like scrub for 10 seconds and then rinse off, right? So I
think
put that
60
much.
seconds.
It's not 60 seconds. If you're like a doctor going into surgery, maybe. I'm talking like average person trying to get rid of the average amount of germs. Anyway, you put all that effort.
The average amount of germs, but I get most of the germs.
You put all that effort into cleaning your hands, and then you go to the air dryer and you dry your hands off. You're not touching anything. You feel like your hands are probably clean. and then you pull your sleeve over your hand and open up the door to go out of the.
It's a conspiracy, man. It's the smell of the soap. You feel clean. You smell clean.
That's what it is. They should just sell like air freshener that you can rub onto your hands when you.
That's genius. That's genius.
Genius. There's no actual antibacterial in there. There's no soap. It's just
it's bad for you. You got to get rid of the alcohol too, because the kids will drink anything anymore.
It's like it's like Febreze for your hands.
Wow.
Now it's smelling dingy. Spray it with Febreze. It's clean.
Wow.
So anyway, apparently hospitals are switching back to towels.
That doesn't surprise me.
I don't know if that means like paper towels. I would assume because fabric towels, I think, would have similar germ problems because they're hanging in there, you know?
Yeah, it depends. I mean, if they change them out, if it's like a one-use towel, which
that's
resource-wise.
Yeah, that's different.
That would be the only way that would work.
One-use hand towels. But I mean, paper towels aren't exactly a great use of resources either. I guess they could be recycled, but
yeah, but even recycling, like the processing, the energy to process it, etc.
Yeah,
it's quite a bit. But then the argument on the other side of it too. I mean, I know hand dryers have gotten way more energy efficient in the last decade. So like the argument used to be, oh, hey, you know, we're saving money on paper, but you're paying a lot in electricity. And now that's changed a little bit. You know, somebody's put some engineering into things and made things blow harder and what have you. But it doesn't fix the underlying cut. Huh?
If all they're doing is blowing the germs on your hands, you're really not accomplishing. You may as well not wash.
Right. Well, the other side of it too. Like think about the nozzle, right? I mean, how many decibels is that usually when it hits your hands? Like how loud is that? People who use the hand dryers all the time, like every day, let's say their corporation has, or their company corporation, listen to me, has hand dryers that have a nozzle and it's like, you know, maybe 100 decibels. Maybe you'll have some hearing damage over time. That's now a class action lawsuit, right?
Yeah. Now I do wonder, and I didn't read to see if the article went into this, but I do wonder if they simply made the heating elements in these things hotter, if that would be enough to kill off the germs.
Yeah, but then people may get too close and burn themselves, and we people are very difficult to please. You know,
I would imagine with enough ductwork inside of the hand dryer, you could heat the air hot enough on the way in to kill off the germs.
Okay.
And then let it cycle through some ductwork and back out the other side. And it'll have sufficiently cooled until it hits your hands. Your delicate little mitts.
I could see that working, honestly.
Leave it to Iron Sysadmin to solve the world's problems.
But does it have an upgradable firmware though?
Somebody patent my new idea for a hand dryer.
Indeed. It has to have the logo on it too.
I'm too lazy to do it, and then give me royalties because.
Ooh. Can we call it the Gangriff edition?
Yeah, right. The Gangriff edition Airblade or something. No, I don't know if I want my handle.
But getting back to the point, I mean, seriously, like this isn't something new. I'm sure a lot of people who are like listening to this. They've probably heard about this, and the myth, maybe it was a myth. There was never enough concrete evidence, but somebody's actually done the work.
Yep. Now it's actually proved.
Yeah. So
which, there you go. I'm glad that somebody is looking out for the cleanliness of public restrooms.
Now, smartphones, that's another story. People who use smartphones in the bathroom, the air being blown onto your hands may not be the worst thing.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. I'm guilty. I'm sure many of other people are too.
Well, I mean, you're in the restroom, you're bored. What are you going to do?
Yeah. Electronic media, right? I mean,
yeah, right.
Paper's dead, right?
I have the internet in my pocket. Why would I not utilize this?
Indeed.
Speaking of keeping things clean, I don't know how that really applies, but privacy, bathroom, yeah, this works.
Dope.
So there's this new concept. Apparently, Google has tried this out a couple months ago, and currently Mozilla is working on adding it to their developer edition. I think it's developer edition, beta, whatever, of Firefox. DNS over HTTPS, and this is interesting technology, but I don't know. I feel like there should be better ways to get this done. So here's the concept. The concept is there is sort of a resolver built into your web browser. that instead of depending on your client's DNS resolver, which uses whatever DNS server you've configured your TCP/IP configuration to use, we'll use an API call out to, in this case, a Cloudflare hosted DNS API. Now Dustin's holding up the two fingers, because if you go to Cloudflare's, sorry, two fingers on two hands. If you go to Cloudflare's 1.1.1.1 in your web browser, you get a bunch of images of people holding up two fingers on two hands, like 1.1.1.1.
It's rad, man.
Very rad. Rad indeed. Yeah. Rad's a good word.
It's 15, right? In binary, 15?
What? 1.1.1.1?
Uh-huh.
Or 4 ones?
1, 2, 4, 8, 15, right?
1, 2, 5. Sure. Yeah. I'm not going to calculate this right now, but you're probably right.
Anyways, go ahead. Just being stupid.
Okay.
Yeah, so continue. So you're talking about this resolving can be done inside of your browser instead of relying on UDP 53, TCP 53, whatever craziness you're doing. Most people do UDP. But, there's been speculation about the resolution exposing what you're trying to resolve to anyways, because you're making an HTTPS request, right?
Yep. So DNS, the current protocol that we all depend on to make the internet work in a way that is a little more person-friendly, resolving names to numbers, is all done in the clear. It's all done open. It's not encrypted. I don't know how DNSSEC plays into this. I don't think it does really, because resolution
it's totally different.
Resolution is always in the clear.
Yep.
So basically, even if you're on a VPN service, or even if you're using everything over HTTPS, if your DNS requests are still going out in the clear. Now, yes, if you're on a VPN, you could have all of your DNS requests going through the VPN, which would mean at least your ISP couldn't see them, but then your VPN provider can, because DNS, it's not encrypted, period. Nope. So this aims to solve that, at least for your web browser anyway, by putting all of your DNS requests over this API that uses HTTPS between you and this Cloudflare system. I don't know that it's perfect.
I don't think so. But it's a step in the right direction, right? I mean, it's a start of a conversation. It's a start of getting more people in the same mindset to be concerned about this information, right? I'm curious to see where it goes. I mean, we've talked about, I think, a year ago or 2 years ago, whenever I joined the podcast, maybe it was before I joined, I remember you guys talking about maybe doing like some kind of DNS obfuscation, right? So generating like tons and tons and tons of DNS requests, remember, right?
Right.
That's interesting.
That was around the time that...
I forget.
What were we talking about? There was that bill that
probably talking about Tor, I think, right? When it was getting more popular.
About what?
Tor, more people were talking about Tor.
There was legislation. What the heck was this? There was legislation going through that would allow ISPs to snoop on your data.
Oh, are we talking about net neutrality? No, this is the.
It wasn't net neutrality. This was not before net neutrality, but before that blew up. I forget what it was now.
Second time.
Well, anyway,
for the bad.
Yeah, the concept then was that ISPs were going to be using your data to sell you on things, right? So like they could tell from your traffic that you were doing such and such online, and now they were going to target advertisements or whatever at you. And
which Verizon does, by the way. I don't know about the other big wireless carriers, but you have to actually opt out of it.
The concept was to just generate a bunch of junk. Just like have a thing running in the background that's running a bunch of weird queries or calling certain websites that had nothing to do with stuff that you normally visited. So that all the data that they got was just garbage. Just a bunch of chatter, signal in the noise sort of problem. But anyway, I digress. Yeah. Now that Dustin has brought us back with some relevance. And I do think that was before you were on the show. You must have listened to the episode. I don't think you were on the show yet.
That was when I left you that wonderful comment with all sorts of fun grammatical challenges. I didn't realize that actually got posted.
To this date, you're the only person who's commented on our iTunes account. So go on, folks. Go give us feedback on iTunes.
This is before I was part of the podcast. This is not me trying to pull some PR stunt.
Right, right. So anyway, back on topic because I'm rambling here about things in the past. Um, the concept has merit, but it feels like it misses the mark. Don't you think? Because sure, most of the stuff that the average person is doing on their device is going to be through a web browser.
Agreed.
But for a lot of us, it's not. That's not all I do. My
No,
local
same for me.
resolver probably does a lot of work that's outside of its web browser.
Hmm. For sure. I
So
think it definitely, like I said before, I definitely think it gets people to think about it. But like the whole flaunting, oh, HTTPS everywhere, this and that, like yes, that's a great thing to work towards. But I think sometimes how a lot of this newer stuff is sold, it's not as secure as people think it is, right? And I think that still needs to be discussed, right? Because on the surface, oh wow, that's great, but until somebody who actually looks into it, if they do, it's it's something that I think could sometimes be misconceived by large groups.
yeah,
I don't know if you agree, disagree. I think, like I said, I think it's a step in the right direction, but um, I think we need to be more transparent about it.
I just think there's too much chance for certain resolutions to be done outside of the browser.
Yes,
Right.
agreed. Agreed.
And
Many
thus
things.
thus like they may not get the full picture of what you're doing, but they'll still get something. It seems to me that it would make more sense to revamp the current uh architecture of DNS to use encryption.
Hmm. Yeah,
Right?
agreed. Agreed. And this has been a
My
discussion, right?
take my existing resolver
Hmm.
and make it so that it makes calls to this API if you want to really revamp the system, or just make it so that it uses some sort of a encrypted session. I mean, would that simply slow DNS down to the point where it's unusable? I don't know.
Well, I mean, traditional DNS is UDP, right? So I mean, you'd have to
Yeah.
now rely heavily more on TCP, and yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, I guess it could. I guess it could.
So I mean, here's the thing, right? So you got all your backend DNS communication between all the root servers and all the authoritative name servers. That stuff could really probably still stay in the clear.
Hmm.
That could stay as it is, right?
Nothing wrong with that. I think the
Most
transparency is necessary there.
most of the resolutions from my workstation for various things, especially if you're in a corporation, happen to a local DNS cache,
Yep.
right? So
And it
like,
relies on a forwarding server.
right. So I'm so and so. I work for Corporation Z. Corporation Z has caching name servers on site
Hmm.
that when I make resolutions, they go to the caching name servers. That way, it's as close to me as possible and it's quick, right?
Right.
Make those systems, replace them with these API systems, and
Hmm.
make resolvers on workstations point to caching name servers that utilize those APIs, and then you can encrypt them.
It'd be interesting.
So then, I mean, queries from those caching name servers out to authoritative name servers may not be encrypted, but it would be a lot harder to link those queries to end users because they'd all be coming from the DNS caches.
In a corporation, but what about like if we talk about home users, right? How would a home user be able to achieve the
So,
same?
I mean, as a home user, I mean, I may be a special case, but I also have a DNS cache here because of
Hmm.
some of the systems I run.
Hmm.
Um, and then that DNS cache points to OpenDNS. If you're familiar with OpenDNS,
Yes.
which is like a DNS filtering service.
Now owned by
And
Cisco.
that's mainly because I use it to filter out like certain content I don't want my kids to be able to get to, and it blocks certain ads and stuff like that.
Speaking of, do you know what they rebranded it as? I don't know if it's just the business side or also the home side.
What are the
Cisco Umbrella.
Cisco umbrella? Oh, I did see that. I did
Yeah.
see that. So now I've got an umbrella protecting me from all the tripe that falls out of the internet.
You got it.
That's great. So anyway, my
rain.
point is, so like OpenDNS in this example, if I'm resolving directly to OpenDNS, OpenDNS could utilize the same API. And my local resolver uses this API to talk to OpenDNS over HTTPS, and we're good to go.
Hmm. Hmm.
Right? And that's as long as operating systems and their TCP/IP stack and their resolvers, their local resolvers, start to support this stuff, it shouldn't be that much harder for the end user. There'd have to be changes, right? Like in most cases, the end user doesn't care what their what their DNS server is, it's assigned to them via DHCP.
Yep.
So that
As
would
long
have to
as
be
it resolves, they don't care.
right. So that would have to be a thing. That had to be a change to DHCP, or maybe DHCP hands you an IP address and your workstation tries the API, and if it can't get to it, it falls back to UDP.
That wouldn't be bad.
We've solved it. It's done.
All right,
Patent
moving
that
on. Let's document that and let's
Just
get that standard
knock it
going,
off.
baby.
All right. How about those dinosaurs?
Yes.
Working our way back through the news and solving the problems.
Yes, all at the same time.
Yeah. So yeah,
We're good like that.
DNS over HTTPS. It sounds like an interesting technology. I think it's funny that the acronym that people are using is DOH.
Don't.
So I'm going to continue to refer to DNS over HTTPS as good old Homer Simpson.
Oh, I wasn't going to say it. You said it.
Oh, right. Yeah, I hope, what is that? Fox owns them. Hope they don't sue us.
Somer
Nobody
Hempson.
tell Fox. Nobody tell Fox that I have played
Fake
Homer's
news, man. Fake news.
on this show. It's fake. Totally. That's not actually Homer Simpson. I recorded that myself and made it sound like Homer Simpson. Yeah, it's totally not.
I'll back you up.
Right. So, just
But I won't sign anything.
Moving on. All right, so we made it through the news. That's a feat in itself, really, because
generally,
we didn't have Jason to throw out any conspiracy theories, so I had to throw some out there, I guess. I even took out the politically charged news article.
We'll save that for when Jason's around. I think it'll be
about the face, the
Facebook,
book? The Book of Faces.
Oh, that place, Cambridge. Yeah.
No, we talked about Cambridge Analytica last time around. The article I took out was about who Facebook has paid. So maybe we'll talk about it next show. I don't know. I'm not that interested in politics.
Nah, and we try to keep them out of the show. So, anyways, moving on.
Well,
so announcements. Go, Nate. You're up.
So maybe you've heard about this movie that came out. You've seen it. I haven't. I figured we'd chat about it a little bit.
RPO. Yes.
Yes.
Ready Player One. I have the book, and I haven't finished reading it, but I saw the movie. Damn it.
I'm going to say that the audiobook was awesome.
You've listened to the audiobook?
Yeah, that's how I read it. Well,
I might as well just probably go that path because
I listened to it. It's great. How far through the book are you?
Embarrassing amounts. Probably, I don't know, chapter 5 or 6.
Yeah. Well, no, I'm not gonna make fun of you, man. I read terribly slow.
As do I.
I've always had that problem. I when I pick up a book and start reading it, if it doesn't like instantly grab my attention, I just get tired. And
especially when it relates to your job, right? I mean, there's only so much that you really want to like consume your brain cycles for in a day.
Right. So, now, I talked about on the last show that we recorded. I don't know if you listened to it or not, since you didn't join us.
I've been very busy. I've made some changes in my life, new jobs.
So I was
craziness. So
I was talking about the thing I broke at work and how I was coming home from work sort of burned out, and I had picked up a book for the first time in forever to just read when I got home, because I didn't want to play with computers and I didn't want to. I mean, I didn't even want to watch TV. It was just I started reading The Phoenix Project.
Great book.
And it was just what I needed at that time. And I have torn through The Phoenix Project faster than I've read any book, I think, ever.
It's a great book. It's very hard to put down. It's one of the few books that I could say that is relatable to the job, but it's hard to put down.
The thing about it is, like, if some average, that may come out wrong. If some non-IT person or non-corporate person picked up The Phoenix Project and started reading it, I think it would be horribly bland. Don't you? I mean, it's all about like office politics and like managerial stuff, and like how in the world would this make a good book? But it's a good book.
It's a great book. It's a terrific book, and it's very similar to what we all endure in this field. I'm sure in many fields, right? I mean, it's so relatable. It's crazy. I could pick people from that book and say, yes, I work with that person who's, this person, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Not naming them obviously out loud, but I could totally relate to those characters. It's crazy.
The number of times in the last 2 roles that I've worked in, both where I work now and the place I worked before I came to where I am now, the number of things that directly relate to the character Brent and my roles at those 2 places is like, yeah, that's me. That was me. At the last place I worked, 100%, I was Brent. I was the guy. Now, I haven't finished the book yet, so I don't know if like Brent gets killed at the end or something, but I hope not, because I'm rooting for Brent.
It's another book.
Gets hit by a bus and the whole company collapses, right?
Hey, I mean, for how the company's structured, it wouldn't be surprised. Another great read. If you're looking for something that's different, the Phoenix Project. No matter if you are in the IT field or not, it's just in general, it's actually pretty good. I think I probably was close to Russ. I think his name was the guy that would get very animated about things for a while. What's his name, Russ?
Russ. I don't remember there being a Russ.
He was on the systems team, and he'd get pretty upset about all these big changes and all the planning. He would always was it
Wes? I think his name was Wes.
That's what it was. Wes.
Yeah. He's like a director or manager or something. Yeah.
Oh, is he? Oh, I thought he was just a lead. Okay.
Maybe he's a lead. I don't know.
Maybe at the beginning. I don't know. I've only read half the book.
Yeah, he was like a team lead.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah.
You haven't finished Phoenix Project either?
Well, so I picked up Phoenix Project. I started reading it, and then I was fed Ready Player One, and I started reading that.
Oh, yeah. I can understand that.
And I haven't picked up either. It's been crazy, too. Life has been really crazy.
Yeah, what I kind of wanted to do, like I said, I haven't seen Ready Player One yet, the movie. I wanted to listen to the book again before I went and saw the movie.
I wanted to read the book before I saw the movie.
Just sort of because, and but I don't want to do that until I've finished the Phoenix Project. So now that the issue at work is getting like spun down, I'm not coming home from work like burned out like I was.
Yeah.
So I'm finding it harder to pick up the book and finish it, even though I want to finish it. But I've been trying to like force myself to read more of it to try to finish it, so that I can then
go ahead.
So I can then do Ready Player One, the audiobook again, and then probably go see the movie.
We're going to touch on this topic, but like I think you have to be able to disconnect and let yourself just kind of revive. Otherwise, it's hard to do anything when you're in that state.
Yeah, no, I get. Believe me, I get that. I get that. So yeah, that's really the only announcement I've got. That movie is out and I want to see it. You've seen it. You said it was good. I've heard mixed reviews. Some people say that, and I don't know if they're trying to remain too pure to the book, and that's why they're upset.
Well, I've been chastised because I didn't finish reading the book, so my opinion doesn't matter apparently.
Yeah, so I mean the
around other people who've read the book.
Yeah. The people you saw it with, though, they saw the book. What they think of the movie, or they read the book. What they think of the movie?
They read the book, or they saw the book and read the movie.
They saw the book and read the movie. Yeah, see, the movie is all subtitled. That's why.
Yeah, very good. No pictures.
Just a bunch of text. That's the one way to be accurate, right?
Can you imagine?
Like, wall of text. It's all like the scroll from Star Wars. It's just 2.5 hours of that.
With music, you have to have music and voices. Music. It's like an audiobook, but on screen. Yeah, so they had mixed reviews. They said they liked it. They really, really liked it. They said people who haven't read the book have mixed opinions, but for those who have read the book, it was very rewarding. And I agree, like, there's a lot of cool things to see him, like, relive, like, what would be considered our childhood or maybe more your childhood, from different movies and games, what have you, and see that back in the movie. But, like, for me, like, the challenges, and I don't, spoiler alert, I don't think they were as challenging as they should have. But I guess in the book they're not very challenging either. So
have you read any of the challenges in the book?
I started to, yes.
Okay. Some of them were, and some of them weren't.
Correct.
Some of them were sort of glossed over for the sake of time, right?
I've heard
So
that.
like there's a series of challenges that are he has to replay a movie, which maybe you saw in the movie, but you hadn't read yet. Because if you're only on chapter 6, you haven't read this yet.
Yeah,
But
it was. By the way, it was very good. It was very well brought into that film.
Yeah,
Anyways,
I really want to see how they do that in the movie. But in the book, it was like the first time they encountered that type of challenge, it was very descriptive about how this played out. And then the second time, it was just like, we did that again with this other movie. You know? Right?
Yeah.
It was more like a greatest hits thing and not a descriptive challenge. Because describing it a second time may have just been a waste of time in the author's eyes. You know what I mean?
Possible. It's possible. I think there's a mix of both in the movie. I don't want to give it away.
Yeah.
But I think there's a mix of both. And to be fair, now that we're talking about it more, yeah, I would agree. It's probably a very similar scenario to the book. So it's not too far. I mean, there is a point in the movie where it's very different from the book, according to people who read the book. But hey, it happens. That's why they're different.
I mean, the book was very good. I heard that Ernest Cline actually advised on the movie.
He did.
So
he did. I heard that too. Yep.
That gives me hope.
Haha, A New Hope. Wait, wrong movie.
It's wrong movie.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I really want to see it. I'm hoping to get to see it soon, maybe even this weekend or next weekend.
Check it out. Check it out while it's in theaters. It's the best experience, in my opinion.
Well, yeah, absolutely. I want to see it in theaters. But as this usually goes, I don't get to see movies in theaters because I have kids and, you know.
Yep. Or other things. I get that. It's been a while since I've been out too.
Yep. Things are busy.
It happens, man. Life. It's all good.
So, I wanted to take a second to remind folks that we do have a Patreon. That any of you who are giving us money, which there are a few of you, we greatly appreciate it. Anybody who wants to help the show out, I mean, we can't offer much in the way of rewards because we're a podcast. The thing that we produce is the thing that we give you for free anyway. So if you want to say thanks, you can give us a couple bucks on Patreon. It's awesome.
Hey, are we officially announcing swag or not really?
Yeah, we've got Teespring that we talked about in the last show. Shirts. I guess you don't have your shirt yet, do you? Jason forgot to give it to you.
Correct. My limited edition shirt, yes.
Your limited edition shirt. Yeah, so full disclosure, folks. I don't know what happened, but Jason ordered 2 shirts and they came different colors.
The shirt itself was fine. The print, right? It was a little
The print, yeah, unique. The print was like lighter on one than the other. I guess if you were ordering one shirt, you wouldn't notice this.
Well, I mean, we don't have that many listeners, so if they stand next to each other, it's very uncommon, right? I mean,
right.
Nobody really knows.
All of you need to buy shirts and then come to DerbyCon, and we'll all
line
up. We'll all line up, and we'll see the different shades of this shirt.
the shades of Iron Sysadmin. Wow.
So they, I mean, as far as I could tell, the printing looked fine. It's just that for whatever reason, the color was a little different on the 2 different shirts, and I don't know why. One was lighter than the other. So
one guy was a little colorblind. I don't know. It's
I feel like Jason could probably call up Teespring and say like, "What the hell?"
I wouldn't worry about it. It's not that bad. We're just being picky. I don't think it's really that bad.
Yeah. I don't know. It bothers me a little bit, but I mean, the only other option is to look for a different printer, and it's just so convenient for what we're doing because they'll do single prints. Yeah. So I guess the price of that convenience is that, you know, maybe I don't know. The quality of the shirts is up there. It's just for whatever reason the printing was slightly different, slightly off on colors.
And maybe it'll never be that one for us. Who knows? I mean,
it could be that it was just luck, you know. And again, if you had only bought the one shirt, I mean, it looked fine. It was just a little lighter.
It did. And it wasn't that far off. Like side by side, yes, but I don't think it was like if you were wearing it outside of other people or, you know, other people who have the same shirt, I don't think you'd really notice. Yeah. But you're right. It should be addressed. Either way.
So, yeah, I mean, I'd been thinking, I use Teespring for another one of my ventures, my Jeep stuff. And I was thinking about looking for a different vendor just because, well, I feel like there's better options out there. Teespring was convenient. Teespring was very convenient, but I feel like the cut that they take is high enough that I have to price the shirts a little too high,
Yeah.
and I don't like that. So I think that that one, it affects sales, and two, I mean, folks don't want to pay $22 for a t-shirt, you know.
Nope.
So yeah, we'll look into it.
Indeed. Before we stop the announcements, one thing you did remind me of DerbyCon. May 5th, tickets go on sale. Don't forget. They go on sale at 1 o'clock. The past few years, it's been before 1. Supposedly, they're addressing that. Follow the DerbyCon Twitter handle, and also watch out for quote unquote testing of ticket sales, because every so often they'll release a batch of tickets and you may get your opportunity to get one. Also, talking about that sub discussion, Nate and I are officially doing the Hack the Derby.
Hack Your Derby.
Oh, smack. Hack Your Derby event this year.
Contest, which spawned Hack My Derby, which is the thing that I've been building for 3 years now.
Yes, sir. It's exciting.
So, yep, it's been handed off. We're in the process of transferring the domain to us. I don't know what we're going to do with it. What's that?
So we've got the Twitter handle already.
Oh yeah, you haven't given me the keys to that yet. We'll have to. Maybe you did, and I haven't seen it.
I think we left off on settling on a secure means of maintaining it.
Right.
We use competing applications.
Oh, okay.
We'll figure it out.
So yeah, at any rate, things will be coming for the Hack Your Derby contest. Hopefully we can carry the torch from
definitely will.
Two very good stewards of the name that preceded us.
Shout out to those guys, right? I mean, we've got Space Rogue was the original.
Yep, Space Rogue,
and then Deviant.
I believe invented the contest, and then Deviant was running it last 2 years. I think he ran it.
Yep.
So yeah, awesome. It'll be fun to run that. We got to get our.
Go ahead.
We have to get our call for workshops in.
Indeed,
otherwise it's not going to do anything.
Yeah, we got to get our butts in gear. So for those of you who don't know what it is, it's basically a derby contest, the hat, where you stick some type of technological advancement inside of it and make it do things other than just looking stylish. We're still, I don't think we should announce it yet, but there were 2 categories. We may do 3. Some developments that'll come out evenally. So stay tuned for that.
I think what we're going to do is merge the Hack Your Derby and the Hack My Derby into one contest. That just makes sense. So we can focus on the entire thing, and not just Hack My Derby. So yeah, we'll figure that out, and there will be more to come. But as far as tickets are concerned, folks, they're using Eventbrite this year instead of Dave's homegrown ticket ordering system, which worked fine.
Mm-hmm.
But what Eventbrite does give you is scheduling, right? So the tickets will go on sale on time instead of 5 minutes early. I think Dave is just really excited about selling these tickets, and that's why they've always been a little early.
Yep.
And he just never thought the conference would sell out so quickly. So that was really people were miffed last year about all that.
Yeah. But if you get a ticket and you're coming to DerbyCon, bring a derby, or we'll provide you a derby and you can compete.
Yes, absolutely. Dustin and I should both be there, I'm assuming. We both have tickets from last year's Hack Your Derby contest. We both won tickets, so we don't have to worry about all this stuff. But you do if you're gonna you're gonna come to the conference. So I guess that's enough about DerbyCon for now, huh?
Agreed.
You got anything awesome going on you can talk about on the show?
No, not really. I mean, start a new job, so settling into that, moving some stuff around, bringing some ideas back. It was a previous employer I worked for, so familiar territory, but bringing some refreshing ideas back
now that
with what I've learned.
Now that you have all that fast-paced experience from your New York startup life.
Yeah, losing hair, all that fun stuff. Yeah.
You still have plenty of hair. I don't know.
No, for now. I've got everywhere else,
That's enough.
Hey, come on.
So I wanted to first of all, on the last show I had talked about we talked about the person who had downloaded his Facebook archive and found his call log data in the in the archive. Dustin, I know you haven't heard this yet, but
Nope.
maybe you read the article.
Nope. I've been under a rock for a while.
Yeah, a couple weeks ago, there was this. I can't remember his name now. If you guys look back at the show notes from episode 35, right, the most recent episode, or listen to the show, you'll hear us talk about it. But this guy had decided on Facebook, you can go into your settings, you can download an archive of supposedly all the data they have on you. And he did this, and he found call log data from his cell phone of like phone calls that he had made. Right.
So pause. Was this Android, iOS, Palm?
I don't remember.
Windows 10.
I think he was on a Palm Pilot.
Ah, okay, that makes sense.
No, it was a Windows CE device.
Ooh, fancy. Anyway, sorry.
Anyway, I don't remember which platform he was on, but basically Facebook came back and said, like, yeah, you gave us permission to do that. So anyway, I was curious and went and downloaded my Facebook archive to see if any of that data was in there. And my Facebook archive contained exactly what I expected it to contain.
Which is
a bunch of details about people I'm friends with, a bunch of logs of chats that I've had through Facebook, a bunch of photos that I've posted to Facebook. Surprisingly few, and I think that's because the majority of the pictures that I post on Facebook are actually shared from Twitter and Instagram. So like I have links set up or IFTTT rules so that if I post to Instagram, it populates out to my other social platforms. And I think Facebook doesn't actually keep those pictures because they're just links.
You bot.
Yeah, I'm a bot. That's exactly it. I have skewed the results. I'm a bot because IFTTT does all my posts.
Had to throw it in there.
So anyway, yeah, I mean, like all my Facebook Messenger chat logs were in there, but again, this is all data I expected they had. So yeah, there was nothing surprising there.
I downloaded my Facebook export years ago, and I pulled what I thought was relevant and just threw everything else out. It's completely gone. I did that a while ago.
Yeah,
almost 2 years ago, I think.
Yeah. So,
but somebody's got to maintain the Iron Sysadmin page, and that's you.
The only thing that was sort of, I don't want to say surprising, but a little creepy was they build this profile of you, and I think it's for advertising purposes, right?
Sure. Well, that's exactly what that is. It's an advertising platform. You are the product.
Yeah. So, but I mean, they export that when they send you your info. And in fact, if you go into your Facebook account and go into settings, I forget the exact path to get to it, but there's a place where you can view the advertising data that they have, like the advertising profile that they have built on you. And it goes as far as to say, like, we think this person's liberal, or we think this person's conservative.
Yeah, then that's where we go back to previous discussions with what Cambridge used and
yeah, exactly. But that was part of what made me think like to go look at this. I had read some other article somewhere about like, oh, look at this thing, and it's it has a bunch of your likes and dislikes, and I mean it is sort of shockingly spot on with how I really don't use Facebook that much. It's mainly like I use it for Messenger so I can chat with people that I need to keep in touch with that only use Facebook. I don't use it, like I don't go on there and argue about politics. I don't go on there and like post pictures of my food. It's like the usual Facebook. I'm not your average Facebook user. And still they have built this very accurate profile of me. And that was a little creepy, but it's not
creepy, or is it disgusting?
It's not like creepy to the point where I was surprised they could get it, is what I'm getting at.
Okay. Like, did it revolt you? Did it give you a bad taste as far as an experience knowing that they had that
no, I mean
it's data about your research?
I'll say that it's
surprising to confirm.
I'll say that the profile they have built on me is not unexpected.
Okay,
like
that's fair.
I'm not surprised that they came to those conclusions based on who I am and what I can remember posting on Facebook.
Interesting.
So it's pretty accurate, and it was a little creepy to find it, but it's not surprising.
So we talk about bots. What would be an interesting project, and I'm sure somebody's already doing it, would be to post content or share content on a Facebook profile that's created that isn't relevant to just one view. but tries to, pull things from certain sites that are more left or more right or, what have you, and see what they assume your views are. It would be interesting to know how you could sway that. I'm sure it's an ongoing dynamic analysis, but it would just be kind of interesting to do that for a couple months and see what your actual, I don't want to say assignment, but label is.
Right.
I don't know. Maybe it's not that interesting. It's just data's cool like that.
Data's cool.
Data is cool. Indeed. All the bots. The bots are everywhere.
Give me just a minute here.
Uh-oh.
The
elevator music time. Please stand by. So we don't have a please stand by Iron Sysadmin logo-based TV technical issue. We should have one. It would be fun.
Technical issue.
Yeah, it'd be fun to, use for many things outside of technical issues. This may or may not be in the bloopers. That's up to Nate. He controls that.
No, hang on. You still hear me? Yeah, okay.
I can. Yes.
The card on the voice recorder is full, so we may have lost a few minutes of audio there. But I have a second card to pop in that I'm doing right now.
All my cards are full.
Yep, I didn't look close enough at what was still on the card when we started recording.
That's okay. Our YouTube streamers at least get to enjoy us for
so
uninterrupted time. So Nate, what's new with you, man?
Hang on a sec.
A new card for your recorder? Yes.
Yeah, new card for the recorder. All right, we're recording again. Sorry for any interruption there, folks. Hopefully, I haven't lost a lot of audio there.
Data.
All right. Just where I'm not going to lose it. All right, put the soundboard back where it was. Relevant.
Indeed.
Yeah, so I think somewhere around the chat section, we started losing data.
Yes.
So maybe some of the Facebook conversation, hopefully that doesn't get too nasty. All right. Okay, picking up. So, in other news, a friend of mine has started her own podcast called the Paranormal Society Podcast.
Does she have a handle on Twitter?
I don't think so. I don't think she's on Twitter. She's talking about it through Facebook, and I don't know if they even have a Facebook page yet. It's very new. They're on like episode 2.
Cool.
So I don't know. Do you like ghost stories, Dustin?
Not so much specifically ghosts, but just the chilling
nature,
I guess.
Things.
Yeah, the feeling, the nature of yes.
Yeah. So I mean, I was a Cub Scout and then a Boy Scout. So like the number of chilling campfire stories I've heard in my lifetime, I'm fascinated by these sort of stories. My friend, lifelong friend, almost. This is like a friend of mine, a friend of my sister's from when we were very little. Her name's Shannon, and she's one of the hosts of this podcast. She met a guy through like Words with Friends or something, which is the strangest story I've ever heard, that you meet someone that you eventually start a podcast with through Words with Friends.
That's a pretty good achievement. That's dedication,
really?
Man. Yeah.
So
wow. That's like saying I met my friend on Internet Checkers on Windows XP.
Yeah, right. It's like, so he's
almost impossible, but go ahead.
He's actually a police officer and a paranormal investigator. And they had sort of like just started chatting or whatever, and they discovered that Shannon has always been into these sort of stories, right? She's always claimed that she could sense spirits, and I mean, I believe what you want to believe, right? I've never experienced any of these like odd paranormal things. I know some people swear that they have. I've known Shannon for a long time. She's a very reasonable person. She's a nurse, right? So it's like she's a smart person. She's not like your average whack job, and she honestly believes that she's able to experience this stuff. So like, I'm inclined to believe her. If she thinks she saw something, she probably saw something. Whether you can explain it through science, I don't know, but whatever. It's an interesting podcast. She's basically her and this other guy are sharing stories about, experience that they've had. Him as a paranormal investigator, and her as just someone who seems to be sensitive to this sort of, extra perceptionary stuff. It's if you like those sort of like think that Ghost Hunters TV show.
I don't know, man.
Except in audio format, right? And it's not quite as off the wall.
Okay.
So again, they're just starting. I don't know how long.
Good for them, though. Good for them that they're doing it. I mean, it's cool to see more people do that. Yeah,
I think it's cool. I think it's a cool podcast, even if you just listen to it for the stories, because they do share some interesting stories. I've listened to most of their first episode. Their second episode is queued up on my podcasts to listen to, of which I have too many.
Same.
So yeah.
Same status.
If you're into those sort of stories, check it out. Paranormal Society podcast, or the Paranormal Society. I was trying to look up a link before we started the show so I could throw it into the show notes. And I think it's just new enough that Google, I couldn't even find it on Google. If you search through iTunes, I use an app called Beyond Pod to do my podcasts on my Android device, and it was able to find it. So I think,
cool.
Yeah, they're on iTunes. You should be able to find them through iTunes. Sorry, Apple Podcasts, I guess they call it now.
You have to be specific, man.
Yeah, right. So anyway, it's cool stuff. If you're not into that sort of thing, whatever, don't check it out. But yeah, I think it's cool. I think it's
there if you're interested.
Yeah, it's cool that she's doing this, not just because she's a friend of mine, but because, like, I don't know. I just think it's cool that she's coming out with this stuff. It's pretty cool.
Indeed. Good for her. Power to her.
Yeah. Cool. Yeah. So, all right. Anything else? I guess that's it.
I think we're good, man.
Transition time.
All right.
We have like 2 hours worth of card left now that I switched cards. So
let's fill it up.
Be as long-winded as you want.
And so I'm talking very slow.
The first card, I didn't realize this when I plugged it in. I should have, but I looked at it when I started hitting record, and it said there was like an hour left on it. I should have known we were going to go longer than an hour. We always do.
Yeah. We have to challenge ourselves. I don't know. It's hard to...
Yeah, so... Theoretically, I can recover that lost audio from YouTube if I really have to. I hope it doesn't come to that, though.
I think it's okay.
Yeah, I think we'll be fine. It was just us going on and on about Facebook anyway.
Yeah, there's enough of us going on about topics. Always is.
Yeah, I think we'll have plenty of filler.
Indeed, sir. Indeed.
All right, so tonight's main topic... excuse me, I've always been of the opinion that a sysadmin has to enjoy what he does. Otherwise, he becomes a disgruntled sysadmin and then probably doesn't stay in his position for long. Some companies say there's a high churn rate for sysadmins just because of the nature of the work. Some companies don't. And I wanted to talk a little bit... What's that?
Depends on the company and the role that they put you in.
Exactly. So that's what I'm getting at. So what I wanted to talk about a little bit tonight is what it takes to either burn out a sysadmin or keep them truly interested in working for you. So personally, I feel that really comes down to the nature of the work that you're doing. A sysadmin's job is generally very reactionary, right? I don't know if you agree or not, but there's a big part of the job where it's, I need X done.
Right.
Call the sysadmin.
But there's also some proactiveness into that too. I mean, yes, there is a lot of reactive actions that are taken. I do agree with you on that, but I don't think it's all reactive. I think
no, it's not.
There is some structure you can have depending on the company and other players from other departments. So yes,
so
I agree and disagree.
What I'm sort of getting at is, depending on where you are and how mature your IT organization is, a sysadmin job is either 100% running around, putting out fires, handling requests, or some percentage of the job is
Mhm.
running around, putting out fires, taking requests, because that's just the nature of the job,
Yep.
right? So, for example, in my job, there's a lot of just like routine things that have to happen. Oh, I need access to this file share. My email's filling up. I need more quota. So and so needs additional access to such and such, right?
Mhm.
This and that, back and forth. Then there's also things like I talked about last week where sometimes things just go wrong and you need to fix them, right?
Yep.
Um, Personally, that's not a very fulfilling role, doing just those
No.
two things, right?
Nope.
Some people are fine with that, right? But
Yep.
I think it's a quick way to burn somebody out because you're just switching from thing to thing and dealing with one request or one emergency after the next.
Yep.
You look like
I
you
would
have
agree with
more
you.
to throw in there.
No, I totally agree with you. I've been in roles like that before, and it gets old pretty quickly. I mean, you can tolerate it for a while. You can be excited about new projects or new technologies you can immerse yourself in. But end of the day, if it's burning you out and you can't achieve the B word balance, right? And not even just balance between work and life, but balance between like doing things that are required because of like you're saying like reactive actions, things like that, but also things that interest you. I've always been one person who enjoys having some time to learn on my own, investigate a little bit, play around a little bit, just so I can further myself, but also continue to educate myself. And if I find that I can't do that, either maybe an hour out of a week every couple weeks, or even at home, and not have the sanity to do that, like it's very depressing. It's something that really eats into you, and sometimes you're not always aware how big of a beast it is until somebody calls you out on it. I know I've been there before. Even going into the whole consulting gig, being a system integrator, yeah, it was fun. I got to travel all over the place. At the same time, I mean, I never had a life. I worked 16-hour days almost every day. Emergency tickets, projects that run into other projects. Like, it's the money can be good. It can be interesting. You can learn a lot, but at the same time, what are you getting out of it? I mean, financial gain isn't everything. Experience is great if it's appropriate.
That is obviously important, right?
It is.
So everybody needs money to survive.
The
question is how much do you really need to survive, and is there really any quality of life there? And I guess that's sort of where I was leading here, right? So I'm sure there's different types of sysadmins out there, but I'm a builder. I like to build things. I like to learn about new technologies, and I like to implement them. The more complicated, right? The more complicated they are, the better sense of accomplishment I get from figuring out how to make it work, and how to make it work well, and how to make it work in a stable fashion that I can hand it off to a user, and they can benefit from it, right?
And the nice thing is by being able to hand that off, or have somebody else take ownership of it, and you just be like the architect, you get to explore and divulge yourself in other areas. You're not just stuck. It's like, oh, I stood up all this great stuff, now I have to maintain it. Yes, you have to help maintain it, but depending on your organization, you may also be able to venture out into other areas and just be part of building stuff, which is great. There are some jobs where you don't do that, where, like you were talking about before, you just do tickets. I mean, tickets are great if you like to do tickets, but honestly, it kind of gets boring. Some people like it because it's consistent, it doesn't change much. That's great. Other people who are more into dynamic change can't stand it. So I mean, it really comes down to, I guess, the mentality and the kind of person you are, which there's nothing wrong with either way. But you have to find, like you said, what makes you happy.
So
as many paths you can go.
When I was at my last job, we were a web host, and there were two admins. There's me and a junior sysadmin, or an assistant sysadmin. I don't know if you could really call him a junior, because there were points where
he was an ASA.
An ASA? I said assistant sysadmin.
Yeah, assistant sysadmin. Yeah, an ASA.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I guess so. You're right. All right, fine. But anyway, there were points where he was definitely maybe of a higher skill set on certain things than I was. So I really have trouble calling that guy a junior, but his title was junior. Anyway,
Title's a title.
yeah, my point was we were a small company. We had like 10 employees, give or take, right? It depends on how many people quit that week or were hired that week. And we had like 100 servers to manage. And there was like a bunch of Windows servers. There was a bunch of Linux servers. There was a bunch
servers.
of like, well, there was a bunch of like network gear that had to be managed. There were like point-to-point T1s. There was dedicated circuits. It was like anything you could think of, I had to deal with and manage. And I had to be maybe not an expert, but I had to be knowledgeable enough on all of these things that I could be competent. If there was an issue, I had to be able to solve it. Right. Sure. So you could imagine that two guys managing all of this equipment, there wasn't a whole lot of room for improvement. There wasn't, or not improvement. There wasn't a whole lot of room for like growth, if you know what I mean.
Or error, right? I mean, every time something happens, I mean, you're constantly playing catch up.
Right.
I can't even imagine what that would be like. Well, I can't.
Every day was just full of like, come to work.
Yep.
You have an idea of what it is that you want to get done that day. And the entire day is just, you're being pulled in 3 different directions, being asked to do things that are of, it's like you couldn't focus ever.
Right.
It was, you know, 1 minute I'm trying to figure out why there's frame errors on a T1. The next minute I'm trying to set up VLANs on a switch. The next minute it's Windows updates broke IIS. And then the next minute it's, you know, somebody
expired,
compromised a web form on this CentOS box, and now it's sending spam. And then, by the way, I can't remember my email password. It's like, how in the world am I supposed to get anything done here? Right? It's all just hopping from here to there and everywhere. And,
well, an important point too, Nate. Like, not to interrupt you, but like, even no matter the size of the organization, you can have that at any level organization.
Absolutely.
Whether you're a team of 2 people, 1 person, a team of 100. I mean, that's anywhere. And unfortunately, you know, the reality of going to a bigger company doesn't necessarily mean you're getting away from that.
Yeah. So
that wonderful P word, politics. Gotta love it.
When I left there, I went to where I am now, which is a much larger IT organization and a lot more users. We're not public facing like the web host was, but we've just exchanged one set of users for another. Instead of being ISP users or web host users, they're just internal users, right? So we're more akin to like a corporate IT infrastructure than I was when I was at the old web host, which was more of a public facing IT infrastructure. So really, it's a lot of the same challenges. However, I don't have to deal with network gear anymore. I don't have to deal with help desk anymore, at least not to the same extent that I was there. So that was all very helpful. I'm sort of removed from that stuff. However, there's still a lot of things that are very routine and mundane, and they just have to be done.
Yep.
But I guess the stark difference there is I've spent a lot of time building things, figuring out better ways to do things, improving processes, automating this and building that and whatever. And
you have to say that you have to.
Right. So like, because of that, I'm so much happier with the work that I'm doing because I get to do those things. Right.
Sure.
So I guess the point of tonight's topic isn't necessarily to make the sysadmins that are stuck in the first scenario feel bad about themselves, or make the people who have already ascended to the second scenario feel great about themselves. More or less to sort of highlight sysadmins need growth.
They do.
I'm sure that there are some people that are perfectly happy just getting by, getting a paycheck, and that's cool, right?
And that's any position. I don't think that's applicable just to our arena.
Yeah, right. There were people back in my tech support days, right? I spent like 6 years doing help desk, just like first level, bottom of the barrel, like dial up tech support help desk, right? And they're like, that's like, to me, this was like a soul sucking experience. I wasn't getting anywhere. I wasn't doing interesting things. After the first year or two, I had seen all the problems. There was no real like challenging problems to solve. every now and then you'd get one, and nobody appreciated you. It was just like, I hated
It's hard.
every second of it. I have a friend who is still there. He was there when I was there, and he's still doing it because for him,
go ahead,
it's just enough. He gets a paycheck. He's got stable income. He's got a stable job, and that's fine with him. And I'm not saying that shouldn't be. That's my point.
But there's even people like, you look at like desktop support, right? Like same idea. People like the human interface factor, right? And they're willing to put up with, you know, the few people that are, whether it be internal support or external support, that they come in contact with that are very difficult to deal with, just to deal with people who are really thankful for their help, and, you know, just to get personal with somebody. So like there are people who really enjoy that, and there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, like we keep touching on, if it's something that makes you happy, go for it. You know, if you enjoy that, there's nothing wrong with that. But if it's something that you want to move on, like, don't settle. I tell people this all the time, like, no matter what career path you take, don't settle. If it's something that you are happy with, fine, you can settle, but like, keep enabling yourself, keep pushing yourself to do better. No matter what you decide to do, whether you stay, grow, whatever, you have to grow, like you're saying. But you can't just give up if you want to do something differently. You have to, as much as it sucks and it's hard to sometimes get where you want to be, you can't just doubt yourself, right? I mean, I know there's a lot of psychological stuff that comes into it, and stuff is a word that can be applicable in many different ways, but I guess my point is, you just have to keep growing, like you're saying, and just not sell yourself short. A lot of people do that, and it's kind of frustrating, because you know there are people that are very capable of doing more, and you want them to do more, but they may necessarily not want to because of whatever factors, and that's fine. That's their decision, your decision, whatever. But don't feel like you can't if you want to. There are always people you can talk to. There's always people to network with, you know, in the community, out of the community, whatever. Just keep the conversations going. I think that's the biggest takeaway that people forget, is you could talk to people. There are so many technologies that we talk through and communicate through, right? But just be personable, you know? I mean, it goes a long way, just having a conversation with somebody, even for yourself, for self-growth. I mean, maybe that person doesn't have anything to give you, in other than just listening to you vent, or just supporting you. That's a lot. That's helpful. The
number of times I've had a breakthrough on a problem just by like shouting at the wall, even if there's not another person in the room, just like,
yeah,
oh, really? Wait, yeah, that'll work. Go do that.
Well, that's also applicable, like when you, as they say, having blinders on, right? Same idea. Sometimes you just have to get out of it. Like, you know, go take a vacation, or go scream at a wall, or, you know, go for a walk, whatever helps you, you know, take your mind off of things. That's healthy. Don't go down the unhealthy path, because it's not worth it. Just try to, I guess, not try to be happy. That's very ambiguous. Try to just grow. I guess we should capitalize on that word, the big G.
Yeah. So there is a distinction here between following your heart and following your brain.
Yep.
Too many times your heart will get you in trouble. Mm-hmm. This is like general life wisdom. It doesn't just apply to sysadmins, and I want to be sure to portray that. Following your heart may feel great, and in some cases you may have to do that, but don't live your life like a Lifetime movie. It just doesn't work.
Wow. For those of you that like Lifetime, we're not trying to offend you.
No, I've been using.
I'm kidding.
I have found myself using that analogy frequently because of something that's going on in our family, where it's like someone's made a decision based on what felt good, and she's tearing some stuff up, and I don't know. It feels like if you ever just like watch any Lifetime movie ever, or any like Hallmark movie ever, and it's all about, oh, follow your heart and it'll work out. Well, sometimes it doesn't.
No.
Sometimes your heart leads you off a cliff, and then you have to deal with the outcome, and that's not always a good thing, especially in the IT field.
Yep. you're allowed to have passion, right? Or
Oh
a
yeah,
heart or a feeling, but also try to be logical.
passion is important, but you have to harness passion, right?
Yep.
Like, I don't know, like I said, I like to build things, right? That's a
Mhm.
passion of mine. And
Mhm.
I have two outlets for that. One of them is in IT and one of them is in my garage, right? So I can I can build an insane Jeep in my garage given money and time, but it may not be practical. That's probably the best analogy I can come up with, right? I can build like this insane monster that will climb up walls and through mountains, but I won't be able to drive it to work in the morning,
And that's
right?
the hardest lesson to
And
learn.
maybe
If you
that's
think
what I
about it.
need, right? I need a vehicle I can drive to work in the morning and play with on the weekends,
Yeah.
right?
Well, and that's sometimes the hardest thing to learn. Like those are life lessons that you don't learn overnight, right? I mean, that's stuff that unfortunately, and I hate to say this because I hated it when people would tell me you're going to have to learn how to do this on your own, and it's
Yeah.
it's so frustrating to hear that when you're trying to figure it out for your, trying to get some answer to try to figure it out. But
Right.
honestly, like you have to like really tear the band-aids off to heal, and it's hard. It's a hard thing to do. You will never be completely healed as
How
a emotional being that we are, but
how
you
does
have
that
to continue to. Huh?
how does that snarky T-shirt go? It's something like, "I can explain it to you, I can't understand it for you."
Yes.
This is
Yes.
exactly
Yes.
what you're
And as
saying.
frustrating as that is to hear or read, like it's so frustrating. It's absolutely true. And unfortunately, it doesn't happen overnight. It doesn't. It takes time. But you can't give up on that. Like you can't just say, well, I guess I'll never figure it out, so I always have to be this way. No, you can do it. It just it sometimes sucks and it takes time. But you got to do it. It's there. If you talk about like critical thinking classes, like they always talk about like how to go through the emotions of something, how to look at it in a positive way, a negative way, a neutral way, a technical way, etc. It's interesting because it kind of gets your mind to think, well, what are the other ways I would approach this, right? And if you can start just applying something simple like that to challenges that you face, it's really interesting what you come up with. It takes some practice, like to actually be honest with yourself on how you feel emotionally or how you look at something logically and cut out the emotion. But if you can do it, it's really rewarding in a way. It's kind of weird. And you don't have to read a book to figure that out. I mean, there are other ways to process that type of self-learning, but it's
Trial and error.
yeah, I mean that's our jobs, trial and error, right? I mean, software is software, hardware is hardware, but at the end of the day, we are creative with how we use it.
Yeah, right.
Technology, man.
So yeah, I don't know how far off the field we've gotten here. I guess it's
I
related.
don't think we've gotten too far off. I think it's still all applicable. I think
Yeah.
we've gone off on tangents, but I think it's all circles back. Be real with yourself, right? I mean, have people be real with you. Yeah, balance, growth. I don't know what other keywords we can focus back on, but
this conversation seems very reticent of our earlier episodes where we talked about how to be or how to get into being a sysadmin. We had several episodes. It was like 5 or 6 episodes that we had sort of made a series that we were referring to as "So You Want to Be a Sysadmin," and there were a lot of good points that Jason and I hit on just like mindset things and
Yep.
what to expect and what not to expect and how to swallow
That's huge.
how to swallow your pride and not think that you're not to get a big ego because that's easy to do in this industry,
Well, the
especially
other
when you're a
side too is
sysadmin.
not to get aggravated, right? I mean, you can get it's frustrating. It really can be frustrating at times, but don't
Oh yeah,
like aggravated all the time. Because if you're
yeah.
aggravated all the time, you're just gonna burn out even quicker, and
Yep. Yep.
you're gonna do things you regret.
Yep. There will be days, even with how much I like the role that I'm in, there will be days that I come home just I don't know. My wife could probably explain it better than I can because she's the one that has to deal with it. But I just come home like in a sort of like in a bad mood, whether it's because like something didn't work out or I'm not getting progress done on something that I'm trying to work on, or maybe it's just a bad day, you know, like a lot of things interrupted me or whatever. And that happens in this industry. Even it doesn't, a couple bad days don't mean you have a job you should leave. It just means that you had a couple bad days, right? I mean, Dustin, I don't know how much you know about the issue that I went through since February with at work with our Rev cluster. I talked pretty in depth about it on the last episode, but as stressful as the last month and a half have been, and as much work as I've had to put into resolving the problem that I caused, not once did I think, boy, I should find a new job. I'm not cut out for this.
You worked through the issue. You
exactly.
You identified what the cause was, as frustrating as it can be and as mad as you can be. So
right.
And that says a lot, because a lot of times people just walk away from stuff. They're like, it doesn't work. Let's use something else. Or
and it's like
that's somebody else's problem. You know,
I probably could have. I mean, with the experience that I have in the field and the credentials that I have, I could probably have just said like, whatever, I screwed up. You guys don't need me. I'm going to quit and go find a new job. But you know, integrity says that I couldn't have done that.
And ethics, that's a big part of it too.
Right. And B, you know, like feeding my family says I couldn't have done that. That's a good motivator.
That's so there's the emotional and the logical, right? There's the
right. So but I mean, at
the
end of the day, we solved the problem. Maybe not in the quickest and easiest way, but we found a solution and we worked through it. And I mean, at the other side of it, I don't, you know, it's like I messed up and caused an issue, but I don't feel like I don't deserve to be where I am or something. You know what I mean?
I know what you mean.
I guess they call that imposter syndrome, right?
Yes. And it's a very real thing.
Oh, absolutely.
You guys have talked about this before. I think it was actually on that episode when you talked about it.
Yeah, we did talk pretty in depth about it in imposter syndrome and what it is and how, I don't know if we really talk about how to get through it, but at least just like to know that it exists.
It's not a universally easy thing to answer. I think it's about you. I mean, there are underlying things. I hate being so generic, but there are underlying things that contribute to that. It is. But I mean, the whole thing is ambiguous, right? I mean, if you look at it comparing to one person's reason for being that way versus another's, right? I mean, it's all a variable, many variables.
Oh yeah, right. I mean, a lot of it comes down to psychological state and whatever.
Sure.
And I'm like, I had some classes on psychology. I'm not a psychiatrist.
Neither am I. I've had a lot of self-learning, so I've helped understand myself, and it's also helped understanding other people that, you know, can be difficult or challenging to work with, right? So you learn from other people too, and you can also apply that to yourself. But you know, it's something you don't learn in one class anyways. Maybe you can.
Experience.
It does totally. Experience is everything.
Just experience in life, not even in a given field.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So
interesting stuff. I think we can always probably talk more in depth on this or go off of another genre of it. But I think this is something that is important for people to at least think about. It's not as a typical technologically in-depth discussion, but I think it's important.
Again, that's what I was getting at earlier. We spent a lot of time on issues like this at the beginning of the podcast, and I think a lot of people benefited from it. We heard some feedback from folks who really enjoyed it. So, you know, I like to include this sort of thing every now and then. It's not necessarily. Besides, we had plenty of technical chat about the.
Fail. There it is.
I missed the button about the DNS over HTTPS.
Damn touchscreens. Where are my buttons?
Right. It's like if I touch down here, it doesn't work. Why not?
Back in my day, I had a button for every sound clip I wanted to play.
Really? If there was a button, it would work better. A physical, tactile button.
Haptic feedback, man. Well, actually, it wouldn't be haptic. It would be physical touch.
Right.
You've got the touch, Nate. Anyways.
I have the touch. So anyway, I guess if you know, the real point I was trying to make was find your niche in this field and keep at it. You know, keep find ways to expand, find ways to grow, find ways to learn more about things you're interested in your niche. And
find a local meetup, damn it.
Yeah, right.
Right?
And you should actually attend it, unlike Dustin.
Well, hey, I'm an hour away, man.
I
I
guess
have
the
some
meetup
excuses.
isn't quite local for you, is it? We're doing
Unfortunately.
we're doing some pretty fun things.
I know. I keep missing out, and I see it on Twitter. I see it on the meetup page. Like, I really want to go. I'll come back. I'll be back eventually.
We'll talk more about that as things get closer, but we have a pretty cool thing in the works for people who are local to Northeast Pennsylvania. It should be fun, and I'll talk about it more when it gets closer so people can participate if they want to, but it'll be fun stuff.
More East Pennsylvania. Yeah. More
What's
East,
that?
not so much North. I said it's kind of like
East/Northeast, yeah. So anyway, my back to my point. Pick your niche. Grow in that niche. When you feel like you've hit your boundaries, either find new boundaries or find another niche.
Or, well, not even or, but adding to that, don't put so much pressure on yourself. Don't be a perfectionist. Don't kill yourself over the nitty-gritty details. Yes, it's important to a degree,
what
but
do you mean? I don't understand what you're saying. I don't have to be perfect?
No, Nate, you don't have to be perfect. But seriously, though, I'm one because of my imposter syndrome. I put a lot of pressure on myself, and I get so wound up sometimes, and I recognize it. I've learned to recognize it.
That's I'm the same way, and to be honest, a lot of people say don't put pressure on yourself because you're just going to stress yourself out or whatever. I feel like part of why I am where I am is because of that pressure.
Okay, so
I'm not saying that like internal pressure is a good thing, but I'm saying that if you just like, whatever I do is good enough, then you're going to end up on the other side of that spectrum.
Yeah, no, I'm saying don't like kill yourself. Like don't make up pressures that are unnecessary. Yes, pressure yourself to excel, pressure yourself to do the things you need to do, but don't overdo it. If you're putting so much pressure on yourself that you're stressed out beyond belief and you're like a ticking time bomb, you need to take a breather. That's my point.
Yeah there is a line there.
Indeed,
definitely a line there.
Yep. Well, with that, I think we covered everything. I mean, is there anything else?
We could ramble on for hours about this, but
you still have room on your recorder.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's see. Is there a countdown? Oh, it's just counting up now. We've recorded 35 minutes since I switched cards, but now the battery's getting low. So yeah, we're gonna have to call it a night.
Womp womp womp.
All right, so remember to catch us on YouTube. You can watch us do this thing live, which is entertaining. It has to be entertaining, right?
Indeed.
I mean, just imagine all of the excitement that we just went through, except in video form. You can watch our mouths move, and you can watch us blink, and rock back and forth in our chairs. You can watch me miss the button on the
miss out on the audio, so like when the recorder's full, you have that so you get to see us.
Yeah, right. You'll get to see the audio that those of you who are listening to audio only won't get to hear because I freaking card filled up.
That happens. Happens to the best
so
of us.
I realized that a big problem with our live broadcast is that we don't always record at the same time every Monday night. We try to do our best. However, if you subscribe to our YouTube channel and hit that little bell, whenever we go live, YouTube will send a personal dirigible out to let you know when they'll come and they'll ring a bell outside of your window and let you know when
throw rocks at your window
when we're live. That's how that works, right? There's a dirigible. Isn't there a YouTube dirigible? I'm sure I've seen a YouTube dirigible.
I think so. There's also some YouTube buddies too.
Yeah. So hit the bell. You'll get to see the YouTube dirigible come out.
Give us a like, would you? If you really liked us, give us a like. If you don't like us, give us a thumbs down. I mean, we don't want to see a thumbs down, but
Yeah, I mean, honestly, feedback is great. Let us know what you like and what you don't like. If you want to hear any more about the topic we talked about tonight, feel free to give us some specifics on what you'd like to like us to elaborate on. We can ramble some more about psychobabble. We're not psychiatrists, but we do have experience in the fields, especially when Jason's here. Between the three of us, I mean, we've got tens of years.
Well, especially you old timers
in this field, and if we can help if we can help anybody that's new to the field out, we want to do that. So let us know if you want to hear more, or if you want to chat with any of us about, how, what it's like at our level versus your level.
We have ways to do that. How are those, Nate?
Yeah, right. You can find us on our Slack channel. So if you go to ironsysadmin.com, there's a link, I think in the menus at the top there for Slack under the Contact Us section. You can also just send us an email, podcast@ironsysadmin.com, and chat with that way, or you can leave us public feedback via Facebook or Apple Podcasts, or
Twitter. Don't forget about Twitter.
You can chat with us on Twitter, whatever you want to do. So yeah, you should find us in those ways. And of course, if you want to hear us audio, just subscribe to us in the places you'd normally subscribe to podcasts. If you try to subscribe to us somewhere and you can't find us, let us know and we'll get ourselves added there.
Indeed.
I've made efforts to make sure we're on the Google and on the Face and on the Twitters and on the Apple Podcasts, which doesn't sound as funny when you put a "the" in front of it.
Yeah, but regardless, I mean, Nate, you do a lot for the podcast. We thank you. I know Zeno's not here to say so, but no, you do. You hold us together. You're the glue that keeps us together.
Well, thank you.
I'm being serious. So kudos to you. Thank you for continuing to keep this truck on trucking.
Yep, and filling up cards when in the middle of podcast episodes.
They're not CDRs. We can rewrite.
Yeah, I'm gonna be beating myself up over that one tonight. So
it's okay. Don't beat yourself up. Happens, man.
I have to go to the pain room.
On the other side of that door behind him, guys. No.
Yeah, the paneling door back there. That's where the pain room is.
It's why there's sound insulation at the bottom.
Yeah. Actually, that's just the stairs.
Nah, I'm just
to get out of my too hot attic.
The hot box.
All right, folks. I think we've derailed enough for tonight. So, yeah, I guess thanks for listening and have a good week, folks. We'll see you again in 2 weeks.
Sounds good to me. As always, you can find Gangriff on Twitter. You can find myself, Agent66, and Xenophage on Twitter.
There's an X.
That's us. Have a good night.
Good night, folks. All right, YouTube says we had some viewers, but none of you were in the chat. So if you're in the chat, hi. I didn't see anybody chatting. Something. But thanks for watching. If YouTube's not lying to us, it says a couple of viewers. So yeah, thanks for checking us out. And hit that bell, and the dirigible will come and let you know when we record next time.
Ring a ding ding.
All right, good night, folks. Thanks for watching.
Good night, everybody.